Hey guys, this is Echo Soundworks with another tutorial for MassiveSynth.com. First off, if you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, please sign up at youtube.com/ADSR Tuts, that's TUTS. So today's tutorial is going to be a tips and trick video on how to make your basses hit harder in Massive. So what I mean by that is we're going to be checking out a couple tips and tricks to make your basses just have more attack, more presence, things that you can do outside of Massive, but these are also some things you can do inside of Massive before you even get to the third-party processing stage of your mix, like using compression, parallel compression, and even going to like things like wow, filtering and stuff like that. So I have a bass patch pulled up. It's just a pretty good bass patch, and we're going to go through some of these tips and tricks to make it a little bit beefier. Alright, so it's a pretty cool patch already. It just doesn't have a lot of hit. It just doesn't hit hard. There's not a ton of presence on the attack stage. It is a good bass. So the first tip and trick is applying these remaining tips and tricks to a crappy bass patch isn't going to get you a good bass patch. Start with a good solid foundation. This is a good bass. So first thing you can do, and I've talked about this tip a bunch with different sounds, but right now in EDM, there's a big kind of a fad going on with using almost like a slap bass. Sometimes it is a real slap bass. Other times it's a synth trying to sound like a slap bass. This is one way to do it. What I typically will do is with a bass sound, you'll see that this is 3 oscillators. I will add a third oscillator or a second oscillator that's not the main focus of the sound, and I will apply a pitch modulation to it. So here is the third oscillator soloed. I pitched it up on purpose, and it's not that beefy of a sound. So what you can do is go to your first envelope or any of your available envelopes that you're not modulating with, or the preset isn't modulating with, and then turn the decay down almost all the way, the level down all the way, and the attack, and keep this level up, and the attack almost down all the way, so you get this kind of shape. Once you make this, I would save this preset. You can save it, and I would call it like pitch attack or something, and then you can pull it up really easily for future sounds. But then you're going to take that and modulate your oscillator that you're adding to your bass to kind of add this snap in this presence. So this is the second tip and trick here. First, start off with a good bass patch. Second, maybe layer in another oscillator if it's only using 1 or 2, because most basses shouldn't use a whole lot of more than 1 or 2 oscillators to actually get the sound. And then pitch it up to about 12 or sometimes 24 semitones, depending on the wavetable you choose, and then apply this pitch modulation. So now listen to what we have with oscillator 3. And I find it helps to put it on bend plus, because it blends nicer with the other oscillators, because it's more of a nasally, brassy, bright sound. So let's bring in oscillator 1 and 2, and now see how this sounds. If I turn off oscillator 3, so you can see that it's definitely adding to the bulk of the sound. So let's turn off oscillator 1 and 3 and check out what oscillator 2 is doing. So oscillator 2 is contributing the only like analog feel to the sound. So oscillator 1 is obviously the bulk of this sound. So it might be helpful to apply the same pitch modulation that we just applied to oscillator 3 to oscillator 1. The key difference here is oscillator 3 is pitched up to 12. This will be staying at 0, so it still remains the bulk of the sound. So I went searching to see what was the main oscillator making up the main part of this sound, and it happened to be oscillator 1 on this. So now this is hitting way harder. Alright, the last little tip and trick you can do to make your basses hit a little bit harder is use the insert effects. The parabolic shaper, sine shaper, and hard clipper are all amazing for bass sounds. That's one of the reasons why Massive had become like this de facto bass synth in EDM music, but it helps to use both of them. And I just did a tutorial on the routing tab. Make sure you're using both. So right now how this is set up would be improper, and I purposely did this so I could show you. Right now, insert 1 and insert 2 are happening, and they're not going to be both applied to the sound because insert 2 is hitting after filter 2, but this is only using filter 1. So we're going to change insert 2 to happen at a later point in the signal flow. So now both of them would be shaping the sound. Let's look at how this sounds now. So with insert 1 in the parabolic shaper, And it helps too, if you're not trying to create like a huge digital bass, it helps just to crank the dry wet up a good amount, 7 to 10, 70 to 100%, however you want to look at it, and then have the drive down a good amount. Because we're just trying to thicken things up. I'm not trying to make a brand new sound with this parabolic shaper, which I could do, but I'm just trying to thicken things up. All right, let's go to insert 2. And it's really fun to actually blend the different shaper types or the different distortion types. So here's insert 2 with dry, wet at 100 and drive at 100, and it sounds awful. So let's turn down the dry, wet. Let's turn the drive up. And now let's actually, with this, because it's adding some cool, I don't know, distortion or kind of a grit to it, but it's too much. So let's apply an envelope to control the dry wet. So we're going to use that same envelope that we modulated the pitch in both oscillator 1 and oscillator 3 with to add that knocking sound. We're going to use that same shape to control this second shaper. So let me turn on insert 1 now, and here's both of them. All right, so let me then turn off what we've just done, and you can hear the difference in the sound. So here is the original preset. And here is the turning back on the 2 tips and tricks that we just checked out. And I might turn down this level a little on the envelope so the snap isn't too much. But there you have it. There's 2 little, well, technically 3 little tips and tricks you can do to make your basses hit harder before you even hit the compression stage or your third-party processing outside of Massive. Again, anytime you can make a sound stronger in any synth, it doesn't have to be Massive, before you hit the EQ, the compression, the effects, the better the sound's going to be, the better your product's going to be. So thanks for watching. If you guys have any comments, let me know below, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. If you haven't checked out MassiveSynth.com, head on over there. Tons of cool things, Massive. See you next time.